I'm Eric Barnes with the Daily Memphian, and welcome to The Sidebar, a weekly show on the community, arts, culture, and more. Today, we're very pleased to be talking to Brian McLaughlin, CEO of the YMCA of Memphis in the Midsouth. So stay with us for a conversation with Brian. Brian, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
What is you've been with YMCA for over a decade now. You're in the CO seat since last summer?
That's right. Yeah.
What is the biggest misconception of what the Y is, and what is it?
So everybody thinks about the Y as a gym and swim, the facilities that we have, which are a huge part of what we do. But actually, a bigger part of what we do is actually our youth development work that really is around, serving kids in the before and after school space, early learning centers, and feeding kids across our service area, which is, West Tennessee, northern Mississippi, and we're even expanding to central Arkansas now.
Wow. And we were talking a bit before, and I didn't know, I'd lost track that you all do all the you have after school programs in all of the Memphis Shelby County schools.
That's right. Yep. We have in every elementary and middle school, we provide before and after school, and we're in 18 other school districts as well.
I forgot. I remember when the Y went into the schools, I did not know about the 18 school districts. So that includes, for example, the other school districts. That's
right. All of the suburban school districts, DeSoto County schools. They are, if there's a school that has a need for before and after school care, then we show up. We're there and we help to fill that gap so that the schools can focus on, teaching and learning in the classroom, and we can help with those wraparound supports outside of school.
And is it about how many kids, give or take? It's not a math quiz, but how many thousands of
over
kids?
14,000 kids.
Wow.
Yeah.
I just think of the roar.
Yeah, right. Every single day.
One of those. Yeah. But that's a good thing. I mean, that's a good thing. It's a lot. I remember when my kids were in after school care, it wasn't a Y program, but this is a long time ago. And one of the, as a working parent, one of the worst things was I would race to get out of work. If it was my day I was picking up or whatever, and I'd get over there and I'd get to school and I'd be like, "Hey, Reed." And he's like, "What are you doing here?" "I'm doing an after school thing." "I mean, come on, I'm not want to go." And I'd be like, "Okay,
I just rushed to get here."
But it was always like a sign of how great after school care could be.
That's right.
Those programs could be that the kids just want to be there. It's not, I'm a child of the 70s. After school was a little more sort of go get in that empty classroom and don't break anything. These are much more, I'm sure, proactive, engaging programs that you do. Are they topical, and is it just run around throwing balls? But there's not anything wrong with that. But
yeah, no, they're actually, after school has changed significantly, and it's different by district, right? And so what our goal is to have a seamless alignment from the school day into the after school program, right? And so, a lot of our staff are also teachers in the school. So we have a blend between our staff and school staff that actually work the program. And, we offer STEM, karate, ballet, like all different types of enrichment programs that are in there. But our priority focus, I guess if you want to call that, is how do we take learning from the classroom, make it hands-on so that we're actually enriching what they learn during the school day in a fun and engaging different way.
Are you in the elementary and middle school charter schools, or is it one by one? Some,
not
depends
all
on
them.
them because
exactly.
They're independent.
That's right.
This isn't behind the headlines, so won't get on to the funding, but I am curious, how is that paid for? Are you under a contract with the school system, or how does it work?
Yeah, so it's a really complex funding stream, actually. One is parent pay, so parents pay for the services. One is through the state, so we take all state vouchers, so where parents can actually have the state pay for them to come. One, we fundraise, so we fundraise over $3.5 million every year for financial assistance or to let kids come to the program that wouldn't have a chance to.
Yeah.
And when you put all of those things together, that's really how we're able to, make the magic funding work so that we can accomplish the goal to make sure that every kid that needs after school has that ability to take part in that program.
Yeah. When did you guys start in the Memphis Shelby County schools, in all of them? Or again, the elementary and middle schools?
About 6 years ago we started. Yeah.
Right before COVID, maybe?
It was actually the year of COVID was our first year. So
that's fun.
Yeah, exactly. So
super fun.
That spring break was
take
interesting.
all those plans, all that planning, all the proposal, and throw it out the window.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Which actually is a good segue. So in COVID, we were serving we were doing the before and after school program, and we had done the food program, which is, providing meals to kids when they're out of school. Well, COVID happened, and I don't know if you remember, but one of the first cases was actually in the kitchen of Shelby County Schools.
I didn't remember that.
And so we got a call that weekend. It was on a Friday, and they said, "Hey, you're the only sponsor that we know of that could help us." And we said, "Okay, well, we'll help." We were serving about 2,000 meals a day, and the district said, "Well, we need about 4,000 meals a day." Well, by Wednesday, we were doing 20,000 meals a day. And by the next Monday, we were doing 40,000 meals a day. And so, what a unique partnership to be able to partner with the district, but more importantly, really to build out this network and partnership with the other food providers and be able to serve those kids where they are in their neighborhoods.
Do y'all have your own kitchen? Now I'm going to get in the weeds on this. Where do you cook all that food?
So we do have a kitchen, but most of our meals are actually shelf stable. And the reason for that is because we actually come into the neighborhood and, they don't have refrigerators in common areas. So a lot of times we're serving right out of a truck or doing programming right in the yard space that's there. Yeah. And so most of our meals are shelf stable, and we can do meal packs during the summer that won't expire so that kids have that food every day they're out of school.
Well, I remember of all the things that was just so unknown and awful and about COVID was that there's a huge number of kids in the country and in Memphis who are dependent on, this is maybe 2 meals a day, sometimes 3 meals a day they're getting through the public school, and how that was going to be delivered. So I'd forgotten that you guys were a part of that. Again, I'll remind everyone we're with Brian McLaughlin. He's CEO of the YMCA of Memphis and the Midsouth. My mouth is not working today. Again, back to the, some people probably think the Y is the place they go after work and, get on the elliptical, right? I mean, people have these different notions of, and they even think, well, my why is the real why, or the best why.
No, you're right.
Right? I mean, I don't mean that critically, but it's an interesting personalized experience of what you do, or summer programs, which we'll talk about too.
Yep.
But so for you as CEO, you want everyone to have that personalized experience of this is the why to me, but also then you want to tell people all about all the other things and programs and stuff you do it all the time.
That's right. Yeah. And I think, when you think about how the Y was actually founded, not just in Memphis, but as an organization, it was community leaders that came together trying to fill gaps for that community, right? And so when I think about the why, I really think about, we have this foundational kind of core that we can operate all of these different things. But when you walk into, as you said, your why, right? Yeah. It's going to look and feel very different. I say, once you've been to one why, you've only been to one why, because they all are very different, because they take on that community's feel. One community might need before and after school. One community might need early learning, right? And that's exactly what we do, is kind of try to marry those community needs and meet them where they are. And then our strategy really is that we want the local community to own their why. Yeah. We want it to be a community where that people can come together, whether that's a safe place for a kid or somewhere for a senior who is living at home, doesn't have somebody to talk to, and is able to come to the Y to find their friends or to get, active and healthy, whatever that may look like.
With an aging population, that must be I don't want to say it's a growth opportunity, and that sounds callous, but it must be a really growing need.
We call them active, healthy adults.
Yeah, sure.
That program is growing exponentially because as we look across the country and especially here locally, social isolation is actually becoming a huge, huge barrier for our seniors, right? And so if the Y can help show up to do that with a lot of our partners, right? We're helping to connect people to other people, which is really the foundational element of the why.
I always use this, and I use it too much, but it's really, I remember talking to the folks at MIFA, Sally, at MIFA, maybe during COVID. It was probably a virtual show because we were doing them from home then, and talking about the programs. And she said one of the things that really worried her was that, Meals on Wheels is not just about the food. It's also, for many seniors, it's the one human interaction they have every day.
That's
and
right.
so they sort of developed a way of calling and just being available on the phone because they were so worried about they could get the food there and they could put that on the doorstep, fine. But it reinforced how important that social connection was as part of the Meals on Wheels program.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
And the creative aging folks we've talked to, I'll say, like, anecdotally, my dad and stepmom during pre-COVID, they went to their quote golf club. This is out west. It's not a fancy golf club. It sounds fancy, and they don't even golf, but they would use the facilities, and they were very active, and they'd go and they'd walk and they'd do aerobics and they do all this stuff, and all that stopped they're in Washington, Oregon. Okay. So very restricted for a long time, and it really changed their lives in a bad way. The isolation that was such a social thing for them and I've talked to other people with aging parents that same thing. When they went to see their parents 18 months later, they thought, oh my gosh, it had such an impact on their physical and mental health. Yep. And so, not to be a buzzkill, but it's great to hear.
No, and one of the stories that I heard, I actually just heard this a couple of weeks ago from one of our seniors that was using the Y. And, we think about it kind of them connecting with people who are like them. But actually, they think about it seeing kids walk through the door. They see this multi-generational center that they're able to pour back into the kids or volunteer or do whatever it may be. And so it's really a unique kind of way to really combat social isolation that is really meaningful to people.
We're here with Brian McLaughlin, CEO of the YMCA. I'm Eric Barnes, and this is The Sidebar. I'll remind everyone, The Sidebar airs on WYXR 91.7 every Thursday at 11:30, focused on the community, arts, culture, and everything in between. It's not just a radio show, though. It's one of many podcasts we do at the Daily Memphian, including our morning podcast, the AMDM, with Barry Casciola, our editorial director, and Natalie Van Gundy, sitting next to me, who produces all our podcasts, and Behind the Headlines over on WKNO. And you also get to hear on AMDM from a lot of different voices, reporters with the Daily Memphian. So tune into that. We also have our Memphis Grizzlies podcast, which is very focused on the end of the season as the Grizzlies go. It's all about the draft, I say, as a fan of the Grizzlies. It's all about the draft. We also have our food podcast, Soundbites, hosted by Holly Whitfield. Soundbites also airs on WYXR every Thursday at 11, right before The Sidebar. And again, all of them are available wherever you get your podcasts. I mentioned Behind the Headlines. We host the podcast version of Behind the Headlines, which we produce with, again, at WKNO every week. And you can get the WYXR shows at WYXR.org. That's Sound Bites and Sidebar and all the shows that WYXR does, music and talk. You can get archives of those shows. Just go to WYXR.org or download the WYXR app. Also, consider becoming a supporter of WYXR. It's nonprofit, listener-supported radio, and you can become a member and get a bunch of benefits. You can do a one-off donation. And if you're not a paid subscriber to the Daily Memphian, do consider becoming one. We are the largest newsroom in the area. Paid subscriptions pay for about 50% of what we do, a newsroom of almost 40 people, and then advertising, sponsorships. And we also are a nonprofit, and about 20-25% of our budget every year comes from donations. Coming up soon on The Sidebar, we've got folks from Ballet Memphis. And recently we had Marina Pacina, who is the curator of a show at the Brooks Museum of Art, looking back at 80 years of the Memphis College of Art. We talked to Marina 3+ years ago when they were gearing up to do this big exhibit. It's a great, I think, it's a great conversation and a great exhibit that people should see, looking at the historic impact of the Memphis College of Art. We also had a great show with Bill Townsend. Bill owns Ansdale Mansion, and it does a lot of events there. He has bought a bunch of different cool old properties in Memphis, does a lot of philanthropic support, has started a program called Always Memphis that is geared toward reaching out to expats and kids, young people, old people who have a Memphis connection. He started in LA, where he also has a home. He's doing some stuff in New York and then in San Francisco. And it's a great conversation. I had a lot of people contact me after the conversation with Bill about how they want to get involved, want to get their kids involved in cities where he's, again, launching this Always Memphis program. Behind the Headlines, we've got coming up soon Memphis Mayor Paul Young. We've also got a show focused on the local elections. And we've got U.S. Attorney Mike Dunovit coming on the show again. He's back in that seat, obviously, since President Donald Trump was elected. Recently, we had Juvenile Court Judge Tarek Sugarman, along with Anthony Alexander, who runs Shelby County Correctional Services. We had Shondale Ryan from Downtown Memphis Commission, Steve Mulroy, and others. All of those past shows you can get at the Daily Memphian, at WKNO, or you can get them as podcasts, WKNO.org, I should say, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. But we are still here with Brian McLaughlin, CEO of YMCA of Memphis in the Mid-South. How many, I may have asked this, I'm sorry, how many facilities are there that people go to? We talked about how many schools you're in, I mean, all of that kind of stuff, but how many, and kids, but how many facilities are there?
We have 13 facilities with actually 2 on the way. One new one in Lakeland and one in Hernando. So
how overall big is your budget?
So our budget is about $70 million. Through our 3 business, we call them impact lines, right? Food, childcare, and then our health and wellness centers.
Yeah. It was, I guess, was it YMCA of Memphis, and then over time you've kind of gotten to be a bigger, more regional organization? Is that the evolution of what happened?
Yeah, we started in Memphis 175 years ago.
Yeah,
and it's just branched out since then. Reaching communities where they are, and the Y as a nonprofit, has showed up, and the people who were even before me, we constantly get calls from people in the community who say, I want a Y. And what does a Y look like? And it looks different everywhere. So wherever, we've been talking about this, but where there's not a facility, there's probably a Y program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
In a community center, in a rented space. I mean, what does that mean?
Church, community center, school, community partners, right? It can be, the combination is pretty wild because, we know we can't do this work alone. And we approach every community as, who can come and help us do this together?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It's an interesting one. Like, how do you carve out space for working with and parallel to the boys and girls clubs, for instance, or other after school care program? I mean, do y'all play nice together, or is it really ugly behind the scenes? I know you're not going to say that.
Yeah, right.
But how do you how do you make that work? Because there's a lot of need and a lot of opportunity to go around.
Yeah. So I think first is, we enter every conversation, and our approach is really, there is so much need, right? And so, if we have the opportunity to work alongside the Boys and Girls Club, which we do, or work alongside other after-school providers, or even other community partners, we need them. We need them to be able to do this work and to be able to continue to scale it, right? There are still kids in our community that we aren't reaching, right? Yeah. And so by bringing those partners on and by linking together, we're talking to junior achievement, right? How do we connect and partner together? Yeah. Because they do some things really, really well. And so how do we use our strengths and their strengths to come together to really create this program that's unique and unlike anywhere that you would find it? And that's what we really try to do is figure out exactly what our kids need, bring the right partners on board, and then deliver the services.
When you talk about reaching people, and this could be seniors, kids, anyone in between, I mean, we live in a city, and most American cities have really, really mediocre to bad public transit. And so what are your strategies in terms of if people they're too young to drive, the bus system just doesn't work for them, whatever. How do you get to people, and how would you like to get to people in ways maybe you can't?
So our strategy is, how can we get within a walkable distance of every kid in the communities that we serve, right? So we're not there yet, but every day we take steps to do that. We, talking about our meal program, we have 250 meal sites that are out in communities, in neighborhoods, because we know that if we can get a child that can walk to it, then they'll get the food. If you put it too far away, then they might not be able to get to it. And so and we use that as kind of a delivery network. I think that it's not just about food. Food is almost a safety net. But once you get to have the kid that's coming to eat, you find out that they might need homework help, or they may need mental health supports, or their family may need supports. And so it's a way to be able to kind of figure out what's needed and wrap those services around those communities and people.
we were talking before, in part because Natalie Van Gundy is just in a time in her life where it's after school care, summer care, all that a season of life where I'm past that now, of summer camps and all that kind of stuff. So let's talk about like summer camps. Summer's parents. It's the time of year where the weather's getting nice. I remember this from when I was kids. It was like, and always, it was working parents, two working parents. Where are we going to put these kids? What are we going to do? How are we going to make this work? So talk a bit about summer plans that people can through your organization.
Yeah. So one of the things that, summer is a busy time for us because kids are out of school, but now kids have summer learning too. So we offer before and after school care at our summer learning site. So we come alongside of our school district partners. We want our kids in summer learning with their teachers if they need that service, right? And so
is that I'm going to interrupt you on that because I didn't know you did. I've learned so much in the 20 minutes we've been talking and the time before. Summer learning is for what grade, what ages of kids?
So it's actually run by the school district. So it depends on the school district.
Okay.
But most of them are prioritizing third grade reading, right?
Okay. So the third grade reading cliff, the change in state law, we did a lot of reporting and talking about that. So that you can't, there's exceptions to this, but the gist is we don't want to advance a kid who can't read into the third grade because then that's when a lot of data shows then they can't, it's not just reading books, stories and writing. They can't read the math problems. They can't read the science books. They can't. So they immediately begin to fall behind on everything.
100%. Okay. And it's not summer school. It's a summer reading camp, right? Yeah. Those summer learning programs really do kind of take that learning from the classroom, and the district gets really creative to be able to kind of help those kids with some extra supports. And then the why comes in because they're not all day. And so we can provide before and after school services so that a parent who is working is able to go to work, but their kids are able to get the supports that they need as well too. So that's one piece of it. And then we run our summer camps, right? All across our service area. A lot of those are actually taking place with community partners in churches or, in a community center. And we really map out where are the camps at and where are the gaps so that we can help come into those gaps and help fill them, come alongside the city of Memphis who does free summer camps, right? And then we share resources. Some of their camps swim in our Ys, and we use some of their community centers and things like that.
And how many kids in the summer will you work with?
So we have about the same amount. So we it varies a little bit, but between summer learning and summer camp, we're running about the same numbers all year round, which is we're serving about 14,000 kids every single day.
Every single day. Yeah. And this, again, all these programs, I guess they vary a bit by school district. Yep. It's a different school district and by state line, right?
Yeah, right.
I think Mississippi has a third grade reading cliff. I hate calling it that, but it's the third. People call it that the third grade reading cliff law as well, I think. And I don't know about Arkansas.
Yeah, and Mississippi doesn't actually do a typical summer learning program, but we operate all of our summer camps in their schools, and so we are kind of an extension of them to be able to do that. And all of our programs, even if you don't go to summer learning, have a component that's aligned with the school district that supports summer reading because we know about the summer learning loss, right? And but we also understand that kids have been going to school all year long and they want to have fun.
Yeah.
They want to go on field trips. And so what we try to do is make reading fun, and make that hands-on kind of approach that kids are learning without actually knowing they're learning.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That is the trick. Is this the kind of thing, and not to be political about it, but it sounds like the kind of thing that not everyone agrees with everything, right? There's no one thing that everybody agrees on, but that is a really apolitical situation that people support this kind of stuff. Whatever you might think about taxes and spending and all the things that people argue about with school districts and but that we want them to have some opportunities in the summer and after school, right?
Yeah, exactly. Who doesn't want our kids to have all of the opportunities that they would want or could ever hope for, right? And so, whether that's, we want our kids to be able to read. And most of our kids do want to read, and they typically do know the basic foundational components, we just got to build on them and give them the little extra supports to help get them over the finish line.
I quote this one too much, but it really stuck with me. Dorsey Hobson, one of the former Memphis Shelby County superintendents, right after the merger, demerger, the whole thing, and he talked about how, we were talking about underperforming schools. And he said, you got to remember, though, with some of these schools and with some of the kids in these schools, you have kids who go to, and this was over a decade ago that he was on Behind the Lines, and we talked about it. He said, these are kids who go to bed and don't have a meal, walk to school in the rain, haven't done their homework, they're wet, and they don't have any of their stuff. He said, so that's how we start the day with them. So we have to kind of we want to get them fed. We want to get them warm. We want to get them some clean clothes. And then like fifth on that list is now they're going to start learning. Mm-hmm. And so it is, I just say, comforting that there's progress from where in the Memphis Shelby County schools that Dorsey was struggling with that. And, not all the schools. There's some amazing schools in Memphis Shelby County schools. There are a wide range of them, but that there's more support like from organizations for you, for those kids who live that way. That's it's a good reminder.
Yeah. And it's a great call out to our teachers who are doing some incredible work out there, because they're not just teachers, right? They're social workers. They're not just tying shoes, they're buying shoes, right? Like, and our staff that do this every single day, they really are the pulse of the Y, right? And they have to build these relationships with our teachers, because we're all in this together. Right. Like, and we're going to celebrate the good, and we're going to help support everybody to be able to, reach their full potential.
Yeah. Just a couple minutes left. Talk, if you could, you got a thing, Dancing with the Stars, coming up. I think it's a fundraiser. Sounds like a fundraiser.
Yeah.
Talk about that real quick.
Yeah. So we have our annual fundraiser coming up. It's Dancing with the Stars. It's on June 4th. We're currently selling tables for it, but it is a great night. We just like the show Dancing with the Stars, we take celebrities from our local communities, and they're the dancers. And so actually tonight is our meet and greet. So they'll find out who the cast members are, and it'll be at the Agri Center. We did it first time last year. Mayor Young was a dancer. Mayor Parsons from Bartlett was a dancer.
Mayor Parsons, wow, that's awesome. Yeah, that's a dichotomy right there. That's great.
It is. He got the name Mayor P at Dancing with the Stars, but it's just a great night, because it's a lot of, we provide the choreographers for the dancers, and they spend 6 weeks getting ready for the event. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to talk to Paul. I'm interviewing Paul soon. I'm going to talk about that experience.
Oh, ask him about Dancing with Stars. Yeah, exactly.
Definitely. But he should be out there. The mayor should be out there. They should be present. Last question I always try to ask people is, what was the first concert you ever went to?
Dave Matthews Band.
Nice.
Yeah.
Where was that?
In Virginia. I grew up in Virginia. And so, and I went to, my family was not a music family. We were very strict Catholics. And so, that was like a big deal to be able to go to a concert.
Did you sneak out and see it?
No, I didn't sneak out.
Because we've had that. We've had that before. It's very funny.
I didn't sneak out. My dad finally said, okay, you can go. So that was my first thing.
That's pretty good.
I have to admit, it was a great concert, but I was just happy to go to a concert.
Yeah, I bet.
I didn't care who I was going to see.
About how old were you?
Oh, gosh. I was 16-ish, 17. Yeah.
That's very funny.
Yeah.
That's very funny. Brian McLaughlin, thanks for being here, CEO of YMCA of the Memphis and the Midsouth. Yeah. That is all the time we have this week, though. If you missed any of the episode today, you can get the full episode online at WYXR, the Daily Memphian, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks very much. We'll see you next week.